a WikiVidi Documentaries production. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Enjoy. Rusev, wrestler. Miroslav Barnyashev is a Bulgarian professional wrestler and former powerlifter and rower currently signed with the United States-based professional wrestling promotion WWE, where he performs under the ring name Rusev on the SmackDown brand. A two-time United States champion, Barnyashev is the only Bulgarian to have wrestled for WWE. Rusev has generally played the character of the villainous foreigner to America since his WWE debut. However, the concept of Rusev Day, introduced in late 2017, led to Rusev becoming one of WWE's most popular wrestlers despite his villainous character. Early life. Barnyashev was born on December 25, 1984 in Plovdiv. He attended a sports school while growing up and competed in rowing and powerlifting as an adult. Early career, 2008-2010. In the mid-2000s, Barnyashev emigrated from Bulgaria to the United States with the ambition of becoming a professional wrestler. He originally lived in Virginia, before relocating to Torrance, California, where he began training as a wrestler under Gangrel and Rikishi at the Knock Pro Wrestling Academy. Barnyashev debuted in the San Diego, California-based independent promotion New Wave Pro Wrestling on November 22, 2008, under the ring name Miroslav Barnyashev, defeating Ariel Star. In 2010, Barnyashev joined the Santa Maria, California-based independent promotion Vendetta Pro Wrestling, shortening his ring name to Miroslav. While wrestling for VPW, he was managed by Marcus Mack. Developmental territories, 2010-2014. In September 2010, Barnyashev was signed to a contract by the professional wrestling promotion World Wrestling Entertainment. He was assigned to WWE's Florida Championship Wrestling Developmental Territory in Tampa, Florida, where he adopted the ring name Alexander Rusev. He wrestled his first televised match on the July 17, 2011, episode of FCW, defeating Mike Dalton while being managed by Raquel Diaz. Shortly after debuting in FCW, Rusev tore both his anterior cruciate ligament and his meniscus and spent 6 months rehabilitating. Rusev returned to FCW in March 2012 with Nick Rogers as his manager. In the summer of 2012, Rusev suffered a broken neck, temporarily paralyzing his arm. While rehabilitating, Barnyashev traveled to Thailand, where he studied the martial art Muay Thai. In August 2012, WWE rebranded FCW as NXT. After his neck healed, Rusev made his NXT television debut on the May 30, 2013, episode, competing in a battle royal to determine the #1 contender to the NXT championship that was won by Bo Dallas. Rusev's first singles match on NXT came about on August 21, losing to Dolph Ziggler. Shortly thereafter, Rusev adopted Sylvester Lafleur as his manager and formed a short-lived tag team with Scott Dawson named the Fighting Legionnaires. They feuded with the team of Enzo Amore and Colin Cassidy. On the October 30 episode of NXT, Rusev ended his affiliation with Lafleur by attacking him during a tag team bout. Rusev proceeded to adopt Lana as his social ambassador, a pairing compared by WWE to Ivan and Ludmilla Drago from the 1985 film Rocky IV. In matches taped before his main roster debut, Rusev defeated main roster wrestlers Kofi Kingston, Xavier Woods, and Sin Cara in singles matches, which aired on NXT in January and February. Rusev continued to appear sporadically on NXT after joining the main roster in April 2014, making his final appearance on July 24, getting disqualified against NXT champion Adrian Neville in a non-title match. Undefeated streak, 2014-2015. Rusev made his main roster debut at the Royal Rumble. The sixth entrant in the titular match, Rusev was eliminated by the joint effort of 4 wrestlers. After months of self-promotional videos and speeches by Rusev and his manager Lana, Rusev's return match on the main roster came on the April 7 episode of Raw, where he squashed Zack Ryder. In May, Rusev adopted a Russophilic, anti-American gimmick that saw him announced as having relocated to Russia, and as having been named Hero of the Russian Federation. This angle brought Barnyashev much legitimate heat in his native Bulgaria. In the same month, his ring name was shortened to simply Rusev. Over the next several months, Rusev feuded with Xavier Woods and R-Truth and Big E, Jack Swagger, Mark Henry, and Big Show. Lana dedicated Rusev's string of victories to President of Russia Vladimir Putin, drawing attention from the mainstream press including the Washington Post and the Daily Beast and criticism after she was interpreted as having referred to the crash of Malaysia Airlines Flight 17 before Rusev's match at Battleground in an attempt to generate heat. On the October 6 episode of Raw, Rusev and Lana were confronted by The Rock in a surprise appearance, with The Rock driving Rusev from the ring after a verbal exchange. On November 3, Rusev gained his first professional wrestling championship and became the first Bulgarian-born champion in WWE history when he won the United States Championship from Sheamus in a post-Raw match that aired on the WWE Network and proceeded to defeat him in a rematch via countout. At Survivor Series, Rusev competed in a 10-man Survivor Series match as part of Team Authority, but he was eliminated from the match by countout. Rusev and Jack Swagger once again feuded in December, leading to Rusev successfully defending the United States Championship against Swagger at TLC. He and Lana also appeared at the final edition of Piper's Pit on December 22, 2014 before Roddy Piper's death on June 31, 2015. At the Royal Rumble, Rusev entered the Rumble match at number 15, eliminating 6 other contestants and placing second overall. At Fastlane, Rusev successfully defended the United States Championship in a bout with John Cena. Rusev lost the United States Championship to Cena in a rematch at WrestleMania 31 after a miscommunication with Lana, ending his reign at 146 days and marking his first pinfall loss on WWE's main roster. The League of Nations, 2015-2016. Rusev failed to regain the championship the following month at Extreme Rules in a Russian chain match. During the match, Lana garnered a positive reaction from the crowd, leading to Rusev banishing her from ringside and causing dissension between the two. Rusev lost to Cena once more at Payback on May 17, 2015 in an "I Quit" match after Lana conceded the match on his behalf. On the post-Payback episode of Raw on May 18, 2015, Rusev ended his affiliation with Lana, who slapped him in response. On the May 25 episode of Raw, Rusev reverted to being billed from Bulgaria and began carrying the flag of Bulgaria to ringside. Later that same evening, Rusev unsuccessfully attempted to reconcile with Lana. 3 days later on SmackDown, Rusev suffered a fractured foot in a bout with Ryback, rendering him unable to compete in the Elimination Chamber match for the vacant Intercontinental Championship at Elimination Chamber. Despite his injury, Rusev still appeared on television and made further attempts to reconcile with Lana. Lana then began a storyline relationship with Dolph Ziggler, while Summer Rae began an alliance with Rusev. On the June 29 episode of Raw, Rusev and Rae confronted Lana and Ziggler, leading to a fight between Rae and Lana. On the July 6 episode of Raw, Rusev and Rae once again confronted the couple, which turned out to be a ruse, as Rusev viciously attacked Ziggler after hitting him with his crutch and removed his ankle brace, revealing that his foot injury had healed. The attack resulted in Ziggler sustaining a bruised trachea in storyline and out of action indefinitely. Rusev made his in-ring return on the following SmackDown, wrestling in shoes to avoid further foot injury, defeating Fandango. On the July 13 episode of Raw, Rusev answered John Cena's United States Championship Open Challenge. Rusev was then interrupted by both Kevin Owens and Cesaro, who also demanded a shot at the title. This resulted in a triple threat match, where the winner would face Cena, which Rusev won after pinning Cesaro, as Owens had left the match early on. Afterwards, Rusev defeated Cena by disqualification when Owens assaulted Rusev. On the July 16 episode of SmackDown, Rusev suffered his second loss by pinfall during his tenure on the WWE main roster, when he was defeated by Cesaro in a singles match. On the August 17 episode of Raw, Ziggler returned and attacked Rusev. This altercation prompted a match between Rusev and Ziggler at SummerSlam, which ended in a double countout due to interference from Lana and Rae. And after the match, Rusev and Rae brawled with Ziggler and Lana. On the October 5 episode of Raw, Rae proposed to Rusev in the storyline, but said he would not marry her until he had won another championship. On October 11, TMZ reported that Rusev had become engaged to Lana in real life. Lana then confirmed the engagement and it began being used in the storyline on television, which resulted in Rae breaking up with him on the October 12 episode of Raw. The entire storyline circulating around the breakup of Rusev and Lana received extremely negative reviews, with many claiming the storyline damaged Rusev's gimmick. On the October 31st episode of Main Event, Rusev injured his bicep in a match with Neville, resulting in Neville winning the match via referee stoppage and Rusev being out of action. Rusev returned on the November 23rd episode of Raw, when he attacked Roman Reigns, and lost to him by disqualification after Sheamus and King Barrett attacked Reigns. A week later, on November 30th episode of Raw, Lana returned to the WWE, once again as a villainess, and reconciled with Rusev during a Miz TV segment, and later in the same night, the two joined Sheamus' new stable the League of Nations. Throughout December, Rusev started a feud with Ryback, with Lana faking injuries to distract Ryback and help Rusev gain advantage. At TLC, Rusev defeated Ryback by technical submission to end the feud. Also in November, Rusev joined forces with Sheamus, King Barrett, and Alberto Del Rio, forming the League of Nations. The faction aligned themselves with Mr. McMahon and would continue to target WWE World Heavyweight Champion Roman Reigns. Rusev would enter the Royal Rumble match at the number 2 spot, but he would be eliminated by Roman Reigns in 1.5 minutes. On the March 14th episode of Raw, Rusev and Del Rio failed to win the WWE Tag Team Championship from The New Day. At WrestleMania 32, the League of Nations defeated The New Day, but after the match, the League of Nations was attacked by Mick Foley, Shawn Michaels, and Stone Cold Steve Austin. Following WrestleMania 32, on the April 4th episode of Raw, League of Nations members Sheamus and King Barrett were part of a losing effort against The New Day for the WWE Tag Team Championship after Barrett was pinned by Kofi Kingston, and following the match, Barrett was exiled from the group being called the Weak Link, but moments after, the Wyatt family went on to attack the remaining members of the League of Nations. On the April 28th episode of SmackDown, Rusev walked out on Sheamus after Del Rio walked out the both of them, thus disbanding the League of Nations. United States Champion, 2016-2017. On the May 2nd episode of Raw, Rusev won a Battle Royal by last eliminating Zack Ryder to become the number 1 contender for the United States Championship, which he won for the second time by defeating Kalisto at Extreme Rules via submission. Rusev defeated him in a rematch on the following week's SmackDown, after which he was confronted by Titus O'Neil, whom Rusev defeated at Money in the Bank to successfully retain the title. Rusev followed this with a successful third title defense against Cesaro, and defeated O'Neil on the July 4th episode of Raw to retain the title. Rusev was then challenged by Zack Ryder, whom he defeated at Battleground, for another successful title defense. In the 2016 WWE Draft, Rusev, along with Lana, was drafted to Raw, taking the United States Championship with him. On the August 1st episode of Raw, after Rusev defeated Mark Henry to retain the title, Roman Reigns came out to confront Rusev. The following week on Raw, Reigns interrupted Rusev and Lana's wedding reenactment, and issued a challenge to Rusev for the title. Rusev declined, and the two brawled, causing Lana to fall into a wedding cake. Backstage, Mick Foley told an angered Lana and Rusev that Rusev would defend the United States title against Reigns at SummerSlam. Later that night, Rusev successfully defended the title in an impromptu match against Cesaro, who felt that he should also have a shot at the title. At SummerSlam, the match did not start after Rusev attacked Reigns before the bell rung and the two brawled outside of the ring, with Rusev suffering kayfabe injured ribs, after costing Reigns the opportunity of becoming a number 1 contender for the Universal Championship. Rusev defended the United States Championship against Reigns in a match at Clash of Champions, which he lost, ending his reign at 126 days. Rusev would then get his rematch at the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view in a Hell in a Cell match, which he would be unsuccessful. On the November 21st episode of Raw, after being locked out of his locker room, Enzo Amore would run into Lana in the hallway before being angrily confronted by Rusev. Rusev would challenge Amore to a match later that night, quickly defeating him. The following week on Raw, Amore would defeat Rusev by disqualification. At Roadblock, End of the Line, Rusev would face Amore's tag partner, Big Cass, defeating him by countout. The following night on Raw, Rusev would face Cass again, this time defeating him by disqualification. That same night, Amore would have to attend sensitivity training from the incident on the November 21 episode of Raw. At the training, Amore would be attacked by Rusev and his new ally, Jinder Mahal. On the January 2, 2017 episode of Raw, Rusev teamed with Mahal in a 2-on-1 handicap match, defeating Big Cass. At Royal Rumble, Rusev would enter the Rumble match at number 18, lasting over 20 minutes before being eliminated by Goldberg. On the February 27 episode of Raw, Rusev and Mahal began to show tension after Rusev inadvertently distracted Mahal, causing the two to lose to the New Day. At Fastlane, General Manager Mick Foley placed Rusev and Mahal in singles matches that night after Mahal revealed his desire to return to singles competition. Rusev and Mahal both lost their respective matches against Big Show and Cesaro. Both Rusev and Lana disappeared from television following Rusev requiring surgery for an injury. Brought to you by WikiVidi Documentaries. Would you like to know more?